Hey guys, Dimension Jump, and today I'm doing my top 5 favourite video game series. Now, throughout the years I've played a variety of video games, whether it's, games that are from Mario, from The Legend of Zelda, from Sonic, that kind of thing. And today I'm just going over some of the game series that I find fun and interesting, and a lot of the entries have been really fun to play in and stuff like that. So for number 5 is Super Mario. Now I think Super Mario is the most basic of franchises in video games to get hooked on, because it's all the levels in all the games are very easy to understand. It's basically you going from one end of a level to the next, and it's just I think a lot of Mario games that have been released have been critically acclaimed to a lot of people, like Mario Galaxy, Galaxy 1, Mario 64, and even the latest one, Mario Odyssey, all have a fan base behind them, and I can see why, because all those games are really fun and they've taken Mario to the next step in his franchise, in a way in which how each game breaks the formula of traditional level by level design, stuff like that. And I would say a lot of these games like Mario Galaxy are really fun, and I just enjoy playing through each of the games and experiencing new different ways that Mario has evolved as a series. For number 4 is the Lego games. Now the Lego games, I would say that are really fun and interesting, because I think they have a really good amount of comedic elements as well as good gameplay mechanics, depending on which ones you play, because you've got games like Lego Harry Potter, Lego Batman, Lego Marvel Superheroes, Lego DC Supervillains, and various other games that are based on comic book heroes or films. And I think that all of the levels are really fun, because it takes scenes from films or do stuff from comic books and stuff like that, and they just use the levels for different characters. And I do like how each level, when you're playing the games normally, and when you're just doing a simple level that's not through free play, and you have to use all of the different abilities of the powers of the characters that you're using. So for example, in, let's say, the first Lego Marvel Superheroes game, there's a level where you have to use Mr. Fantastic to go from one point of the level through a grate to another end, and as well as becoming different objects to unlock certain areas. I think that's really cool, and I think each game that has been released is really fun and really enjoyable to play around. For number 3 is God of War. Now, what I like about this God of War series is that if you look at the older games and the newer one, you can clearly see that even though they're part of the same series, they are very different in how they do their own thing, and whether it's story, combat, characters, that kind of thing. Because if you compare God of War, if you compare Kratos to in the original trilogy to the one in the new one, the new one in 2018, you can clearly see that Kratos has evolved somewhat in the 2018 game, because he's trying to control his rage in a way, and he's trying to bring up his son in the game, Atreus. And I do like how throughout the whole of God of War 2018, he, along with Atreus, kind of start getting to know one another well, and they start to trust each other more. And I think that's really fascinating and a really good step in Kratos' story in a way. And in the original trilogy, if like for example in God of War 3, a lot of the battles and a lot of the fights are basically just hack and slash. You'll just go to an area and just beat up a bunch of enemies. And even though there's still some elements of that in God of War 2018, the enemies are really cool to fight because you get the Leviathan Axe in that game, which is a new weapon you get throughout the whole game, and even about halfway through the game when you get the Blades of Chaos. It's still fun to switch between the weapons and just fighting against just a bunch of enemies. And I'm really going to enjoy God of War Ragnarok when that comes out. For number 2 is Persona. Now, I got into Persona a few years ago, I think back in 2019, and that was like around the time Joker was released for Smash Bros. Ultimate. And what I like about Persona is it's really fun because even though in terms of the main game, all the main games that have been released, I've only played Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, but in that time since playing the original Persona 5 and then playing Persona 5 a few years later, I've really enjoyed it, and I think, some of like the spin-off games are really enjoyable and fun, like the Persona Dancing games and Persona 5 Strikers. I think they're really fun because even though they're about a bunch of high school students battling against shadows, it's still really fun of how each story is so different. Like with Persona 4, it's all about finding out the truth and accepting oneself. And then if you look at Persona 5, it's all about rebellion and standing up against the higher authorities and stuff like that. And it's really fun to see all these different characters interacting with each other. Whether it's the investigation team in Persona 4, the Siege team in Persona 3, or the Phantom Thieves in Persona 5, you see all of these different characters just interacting and just having fun, and that's what I really like about the Persona series. It's just really fun, and also I like the battling system in Persona 5, because you can just summon personas, as well as the main character becoming or having multiple personas, and I just really find that fun. And I do like the battle system in Persona 5 where you can just do 4 attacks in the same turn, and I do really like all of the flashy visuals you see in Persona 5, and as well as in Royal where they add some new ones, some flashy visuals to like the all-out attacks and stuff like that, and it's really fun in it, and I really hope Persona 6 can up the ante and have more cool visuals and stuff like that. And for number 1 is The Legend of Zelda. Now, I think The Legend of Zelda really cemented my love for video games, because one of the first ones I played was Phantom Hourglass, and even though at the time I wasn't a big fan of the game, over time that game grew on me, and then after that I started playing other Zelda games like Spirit Tracks, Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, Skyward Sword, and also the most current one, Breath of the Wild. And I think all the Zelda games that I've played have been fun because they're so different. It's like the Mario games, in which even though each game has the same protagonist, that being Mario, each game feels vastly different from the previous one. So if you look at let's say in the Mario games, if you compare Mario's Odyssey to Mario 64, even though they have a lot of the same elements, they are vastly different from each other. And it's kind of the same with The Legend of Zelda. You have like a lot of similar elements in a lot of the games, but each one feels so fresh and different. They even though they're part of the same series, they feel very different, especially with Breath of the Wild, where it just took the Zelda formula and just blew it up 100 times, where you can just Skyrim your way around the world and just finding anything and everything that you can find in the game. And I think the Legend of Zelda series is a huge fan base, I would say, and it's just fun to experience all these new different worlds and interacting with different characters you see along the way. And yeah, and I'm really excited for Breath of the Wild 2 when that comes out next year. So that's been my top 5 favourite video game series. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.